Hey everybody, good morning. See, we've got Steven and Rex and Jason, channel members Arturo, Diane, Sergio, Donald, Don, Will, Frank, David, Darren, Svenborn, Mad, JB, Logan, Jim, Amy, Kevin, and Goose is in the house. Hey everybody, you ever watch one of these YouTube videos it's like, hey, check out this winning strategy. This thing's 99% accurate, whatever, yakety schmackety. Um, Anybody seen those? I found one yesterday. Somebody didn't really tag me, but they kind of like, hey, check this out. And I'm gonna see if I can't pull it up. I didn't really plan to do this, so this will be something new and different, and you'll have to give me some feedback if you like it or don't like it. I'm gonna try to let me see if I can pull it up on a new tab. Let's see, copy a link. I was thinking about this. I was like, this would be kind of fun. Like, how do you pick apart something like this? And let's see if it'll. Hopefully, it won't autoplay. Let me share the screen right here. I'm just gonna paste this video in here. Let's see. Go, please. There we go. There we go. So that 99% look at this. This indicator predicts market bottoms 99% accuracy. And we're watching somebody else's ads. So, I'm not gonna play the video and that stuff, but look at this. It's just they're saying this indicator right here can predict market bottoms. 99% accurate. That's a pretty bold claim, right? Pretty bold claim. 99% accurate. So what is this thing? We kind of watch, and it's like, oh, exact bottom. And we move forward. And they tell you exactly what it is right here. CM Williams, VIX Fix, finds market. Right there by Chris Moody. It's on TradingView. All right, sounds interesting, right? Sounds plausible, I guess you might say. Let's go dig in, right? So here's my regular old default thing. We go to indicators and we look for CM Williams VIX Fix market bottoms right there. That's it. All right, looks interesting so far. Now I've watched the video and I've done a lot of work. I actually built coded up a strategy to prove whether this thing works or not. All right, but at first glance, kind of look at it, it's like, well, that kind of found a market bottom, right? First glance, this looks pretty good. But wait, look over here. That green one, not at the market bottom. This one, not at the market bottom. Not at the market bottom. Okay. Well, the author of this video does address that. And he does talk about the fact that you need to add something else to it. And he actually adds stochastic to it. And he adds this right here. And he says he does a custom setting. And if you roll down in the comments, somebody handily gives you his custom settings right here, 533 on the stochastic. You don't have to go join his Telegram and all this stuff like he says on his video. Now, why am I bringing this up? Look at this. Look at the number of views. 114,000 views in 11 days. 114,000 views. And this thing, bottom line up front, this is completely bogus. It does not work 99% accurate, all right? Not even close. Like, not even. I was lucky to get 50% when I built it into an automated finder to find the conditions. So when you, and his, these settings right here are actually bogus. I had to tune it up. I had to change these numbers to get it better. So anyway, here's the indicator. So add the stochastic right here. And he says, leave this one the way it is, and to change this one to his magic numbers. So 5, 3, 3, right there. Now he says, how does this all work? Yeah, you can see it. And let me click off the bottom bar, give us a little more room. So when this blue line on the stochastic is below the bottom, which is 20, and you get one of these green flags, like right in here, you would basically go long when that blue crossed back above the orange. Now, I tested that blue above the orange, and I liked the blue crossing back above 20 way better for an entry. And of course, I coded this all up into my own indicator thing. So we can actually load that up and put the VIX fix on here. And we can leave this page and go to this one. And I've actually coded this baby up. And let's see. It's missing off my... What did I call it? I have to remember what I called my strategy. Let's see. There it is. Boom. I called it boom reversal, just because that sounded like fun, right? Boom reversal. I'm going to show you the code. Like, why not, right? So these indicators right here, the CM Williams, like, look, we can look at this code right here. We can pop this up. We can look at it. It's not even that crazy. Like, it's actually pretty simple. All it does when you look at this, it's like, oh my gosh, there's a ton of stuff. But really, all the code's right here. What it does is right there. And that part isn't even, all this does is change the colors of the bars. And then it plots it down here. So we don't really need to plot it. And we don't really even need to pick the colors. We just need to know when the condition is set. So I kind of dove in, grabbed this code right here. Instead of making these variables that you can set, like if you come up here in TradingView and you click on the little settings gear, you get all the ability to change these numbers. I just made them into hard fixed picked numbers because the author of the video said, hey, you don't need to tune anything. It works. That one. Now, so I grabbed that code and I threw it into my code. And then I went on the stochastic, which you can just grab stochastic right there. You can just copy that code right out of there. You don't need the plot lines. You don't need any of the high, the highs at the 80, the lows at the 20. You don't need any of that stuff. So I've actually commented some of that out so you can kind of see it in my code. But you can just copy and paste this into another place. Now, there was one little problem. The CM VIX fix indicator is not written in version 5 or 6. It was written in a prior version of TradingView. Doesn't even claim, it doesn't even put the version of TradingView up there. So when you just paste this in, there's a few problems. Like standard deviation is going to flag that you can't use that. And there's a few other issues like that. But I worked through it all. Not really a big deal. All right, there's when you move to version 6 of TradingView code, think PineScript, it's just TA dot standard, technical analysis. You load the technical analysis part of the code and then use standard deviation and stuff like that. So my code, back to it, the boom reversal. Pop this up. We might need to pop this over to its own window so we can actually see it in full. So there you go. I mean, here's the boom reversal right here. Now, you may be like, well, there's a ton of stuff at the bottom. Well, this is all from here down is just how to get in and out of the position, how to test it. All right. And I added some extra stuff like I wanted to see where the target was and where the stop was. So I added it draws the target and stop on there. I do this stuff when I'm testing a new indicator or something like when I'm testing out a new strategy, I build something like this and I test thousands of trades. So anytime I run across something like this, I'm like, I want to find this out. So here's what I did. I decided to use version 6 of ThinkScript because that's the new stuff. I called it Boom Reversal. I'm going to put my default number of shares that this tester is going to trade at 100. And we're going to put a multiplier, target risk multiplier. So we're going to go for like a 2-to-1 as the default, right? That's what the author of the video actually said to try to do. When you put your stop below the low for the entry, you should go for a 2 reward for every 1 risk. And I'll demonstrate that here in a second. And I used ATR. Where do you put the stop, right? So I like to look at the ATR. I actually decided to put, he said, just put the stop a little bit below the lowest low on the reversal. What's a little bit below the lowest low? I went with 1 ATR. And I'm looking at the last 14 candles, trying to get the average true range. So I put that right there. And then I experimented with using an EMA, my roadmap line, 144 EMA. I experimented as using that as a filter. Didn't really help. So it's still on here, but it didn't really do much. So here's the stochastic code right there. Instead of having the settings where you can mess with them, and here's the magic ones that worked way better than his, 855 instead of 533. 855 worked much better. Much better. Got me closer to 55% accuracy. I told you, way lower than 99%. And so you just calculate it, like right there. You need the K, you need the D, and we'll use that in a second down here. Then the VixFix code right there. Like I said, instead of having the inputs where you can change them, I'm changing stuff. Instead of having the inputs, I just hard-coded those numbers, 22, 22, 50, 0.85, 1.1. And then these things right here, I didn't need because I'm not drawing it. So just commented those out. So when you see the // that's just comments out other code. Then the WFV right here, we just calculated it right there. Now, a few of the other things like the standard deviation, the midline, upper band, calculated all those. Range high, range low, just kept on calculating. Now, here's this code right here that picks the color. Like, is it above? And we change it to lime. So instead of using that code right there, I changed it to here. Is it a green? True or false? Is it green? VixFix right there. So basically what I did is when that would evaluate to true and pick lime, I just want to know if it's true. So that's what I do right there. Now, I tested a few other conditions, like just by looking at it, it looked like, hey, if we're at the last one of these and we flip to gray, is that a better entry? So I tested that. I tested that in my code right here. That's why it says flip. And I added in, if that one's gray, if that one's green and that one's gray, is that the entry? Didn't work. So right now it's just if that's true, then flip is true because that's commented out. And so it says flip. So that means it's a green VixFix. And the stochastic, the last one was below 20 and the current one is above 20. That's the entry. That's the buy signal right there. Now you can change it to, is it above the blue line or the orange line? Like he said in the thing, it makes it a lot worse. And if you change the stochastic back to 533, it makes it a lot worse. So I've tinkered with this quite a bit. So how do you figure out the stops and everything? Now we're down to the code where you actually enter a trade right here. If you're finding this interesting, cool. If it's like, dude, you're way over my head. But this is what I sit here and do. Like I sit here and evaluate this stuff. I don't just make up some bull crap. Like this guy, like, hey, 99% accurate, you know, blah, blah, blah. Check it out. This is complete crap. I mean, let's actually put some numbers to it and actually test it. So that's what I'm doing here. So we've got the entry condition right there. We've got the green VIX fix. We got the last candle, K1, was below 20. The current one above 20. So it's reversing on the stochastic. Let's set the stop. I actually went with, I tried just one ATR and actually decided that 1.5 ATRs below the lowest worked out better after testing quite a few hundred trades. So the risk is the close to the stop being 1.5 ATRs below the lowest candle. The lowest low, we calculated up here. It's the lowest candle in the last 8 bars. We're looking for a reversal. It should pick up that last lowest low. So we go lower 1.5 ATRs below that low, set the stop, close. The close of the current candle to the stop is the risk. Now the target, we want to do that 2-to-1 risk to reward. So we know the risk, multiply, and we add it to the close. So the last close, we're going to add that upside, the risk times 2 to the close and get us our target, the limit target. I have this pre-existing code that I kind of use limit and stop in here as I just grabbed it out of one of my other indicators and threw it in here, or one of my other strategies. Now, if we're not already in a position, and here's some of the magic right here that powers some of my other alerts. Right here. Get into the trade if it meets the criteria. And then we're going to set the exit at the stop and the limit. Then we're going to draw the target and the stop right there on the chart. So that's it. This down here, I was looking at early exits and stuff like that. There's no good early exit. Like, I was like, you know, I was playing with it. Like, how could I fix some of the stop outs? Like, we always want to reduce, you know, like stop outs, right? If we could just cut out the losers. I tried to cut out the losers. So if K1 tops, you know, if the stochastic tops out, what happens when you close it? It turns out you get a lot more losses and you don't hit the targets when you do that. You get a lot more little baby wins. You cut out all the big winners. That's exactly what happened right here. That's usually what happens. Like, everybody's like, well, we just need to figure out how to cut out those big losses. When you do that, you cut out the big wins, because usually the same conditions for the big wins are the same ones that end up being the losers, the ones that came up so close to the target and then turned around and lost. Usually they have the same exact freaking conditions. And so I wanted to see when does this condition come true? So I drew a yellow diamond on the chart. So now you've got all the information. We have a green line for the target, a red line for the stop, a yellow when we kind of top out the stochastic. Maybe it's an early exit. It's kind of a warning. And we can go test this thing. So this is, if you ever have something, you're like, JT, look at this crazy thing right here. We should test it. All right. It's not that you could test it, or, you know, you have to know how to do this, but I'm just showing you, like, I go through this stuff every day. I spent yesterday doing this, like, after I saw this video. Now, this is only 11 days old. 114,000 people have watched this. Bullcrap. Complete bullcrap. Because it doesn't work. So we go look at this, and at this point we can turn off. Well, I'll leave it on here. But look, here's one right here. On NVIDIA. And he says to use it on the 4-hour. Now, this was the first red flag for me. If it's 99% accurate, right? Something 99% accurate. He says, you should only use this on the 4-hour or the daily chart, because that's where I've had the best luck with it. Wait, you said it was 99% accurate, but it only works on the 4-hour or the daily? and you've had the best luck with it? Well, that already is suggesting that it's not 99% accurate. So that's another red flag right there. So let's just kind of look at it here. If we look at that entry, okay, we had those stochastic down below, and it popped above. I can set it to the 533 if you really want to. Just let me know in the chat. And so there's the entry. We rallied up. Here was the targets. Oh, guess what? We stopped out right there. Then we set up another entry right here. There's the stop down there. And it looks like that one might work out right there on a video. That's the current one. Now, I'm fascinated by this indicator thing. Like I wouldn't have spent time and coded it up if I wasn't actually interested in this. But it does get pretty choppy on some tickers. NVIDIA may not be the best one. I was playing with Apple when I was doing it. This is the one I was actually playing with most of the time. And I've kind of built a list of tickers that work better. Like this one, perfect example right here. Look, beautiful reversal right there. Got in right after the bottom. Boom, right up to the target. And you could have held on and ridden that one right on out. Really nice. Now, what kind of results? Well, guess what? By coding this into an indicator, look at this, 41% accurate right there on this 4-hour time frame. Flip up to a daily. Gonna take a second. 52%. That's not 99. Hate to break it to you. And even if we go change the code back to his numbers, I don't know why it just unloaded my code. We change it back to 533. This is the beauty of doing this. You can just be like, oh, I want to test out 533. Update on the charts. Right here. With the magic of TradingView and the back testing. A few seconds later, we'll have the new results. There it is. It went down. 45. Not great. Not great, right? Now look at the profit factor. So I played with this a lot yesterday. I was like, something 99% accurate. You know, that seems pretty smoking hot. How do I do that? And funny enough, these are all Fibonacci numbers, right? I had much better luck with 855 than 533. Got the numbers higher, but they still weren't amazing. Still not amazing. Because 52%. Profit factor 1.5. I mean, you could probably trade this and make money. Gets choppy. Then you catch that big win, and then it gets choppy again. So, that's how I prove to myself. I see when I was testing the early exits, there's the flags for the early exits, then it goes on and makes the target. Like, you don't want to get out here. There's the target. We hit it. This one right here, got in right there, then stopped out promptly, then got you back in here, and it's still running. Like, this may be one that works out right here. And look, the target just happens to be right about where my target is. Pretty fascinating right there. It aligns with kind of my method. That's why I was very fascinated with this when I loaded it up. And that one right there got you in and promptly stopped you out. I played with the ATRs. Like, if you make the ATR if you make it very tight on the low, you get stopped out a lot more. That 1.5 ATR was kind of the best. Like, it optimized the profit factor. When you put a little bit bigger stop on it and you do your risk from the low down here, your reward gets bigger too when you're multiplying it by 2. So It put that. This one got really close. Look at that entry, really close to stopping out. Then boom, right to the target, and it went on to run and get even higher targets. So it's, it's one of those things. Like if you see something like this, you can come talk to me about it. You can bring it up. I may poo-poo it because snake oil and bull shirt. All right. So right there, just remember. And this guy has, look at that, 600,000 subscribers. Are you kidding me? Like, look at me. I have 6,000. I'm out here telling truth. He's out here spreading lies. I mean, this is just, you get rewarded for making entertaining content on YouTube. So I hope that you find this fascinating. Maybe share this with people if you, this little segment here about picking apart somebody's bullcrap. You can do this for anybody's anything. Like if they're hiding in the magic sauce, like my Apollo code is difficult. Like there's no easy, like I don't just slap together a couple indicators. It actually digs through price action to find the reversals and stuff like that. So it's not just there's no easy button here to do that. I'm going to flip this back to my normal perfect setup here. We're going to turn off the strategy tester. We're going to get rid of this thing. We're going to get rid of this thing. And we're going to talk about the day here. So hopefully that was beneficial to everybody. Hopefully you found that entertaining or informative, because all trading involves a substantial risk of loss, and you shouldn't just believe somebody else's crap on the internet. And past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. As we've seen, his 99% did not hold true when you went and tested it on a bigger scale. This presentation intended to be informational, educational, fun, entertaining, not a recommendation to be buying or selling any financial asset or instrument out there. No stocks, options, bonds, forex, futures, cryptos, treasuries, bonds. Don't trade them, all right? If you desire personal financial advice, you're going to have to hire and consult somebody that's certified to do that, which is not me. I'm not certified to be telling you whether you should be trading live money or not. Be careful. You may lose all your money. Today, not a lot. We do have, this is going to be like a regular daily occurrence for the next 4 years, I think. We're going to see President Trump speaking right there. Be careful. He does have that, was it Sean Hannity interview with Elon and him, Trump, Elon, and Sean Hannity coming out, I think, later tonight. That ought to be interesting. Not sure how that's going to go. I've seen a few clips from it that they've teased on X. It's kind of amusing. But, so that could bring some volatility, some reaction. This here tomorrow, 2 p.m., we'll see how serious they are about the potential for rate raises or aggressively holding. Right there, the market may react to that at 2 p.m. tomorrow. Remember, that's not a new FOMC. It's not FOMC day. It's just the minutes, and we get clarity on what they decided last time a couple weeks back. Next FOMC meeting's not for a couple more weeks yet. Every 6 weeks, roughly. Then Thursday, nothing. Friday, get the flash services PMI, and that's about it. So not a big news day. We get a little bit of consumer sentiment, existing home sales, blah blah blah. Just not a big mover. We're kind of in this desert of financial information at this point. I don't expect a lot of move this week. We may drift higher. We may hit those targets. So, moving on. Let's look at what's actually moving, what's popping, what's dropping, what actually affects us here today. I like the fact that we're about to bust out of here. We're right here. Like Thursday and Friday, this kind of set the stage. We're likely to come on up here. 6,200 on ES. This is S&P 500 futures, if you're not familiar. Why don't I look at the S&P 500 itself? Because it's very gappy. You see these gaps all over the place. When you go to the futures chart, it eliminates a lot of those gaps. We get the overnight price action. S&P 500 closes at the cash close, 4 o'clock. It doesn't trade again until the market opens again. ES, this baby's been open since Sunday night. We did close for a little while yesterday, but it opened Sunday night, 6 p.m. Eastern, and we've been making price action even though the market was closed yesterday. So that's why I like to look at this for a little more clarity. Getting a little bit of retrace here this morning after that open. Ouch. We drifted higher after that reopen on Sunday night, which I have to move my little handy dandy bar right here. Oh, the tool I was talking about right here. This thing. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th button down. If you come in here, you can do a long position. You can draw it on here. And if you want to know what a 2 to 1 is, you just pull this up and you get 2. There's your risk. There's your reward. That would be, if you wanted a 2 to 1, handy dandy little tool. All right. That indicator I had on here that was drawing the lines up here and the lines down there, you could actually pop that on there and double check it and see if it was actually throwing a 2 to 1. You know, the default is 1 to 1. And this, you can move it up and then you move this one and get your 2 to 1 risk to reward. So if that's something that interests you, that tool right there, I don't usually use it because I'm usually using automated tools that do all the calculation for me. All right. Back to what we're talking about. Switch back to guns, back to 15-minute chart. So Friday, we were coming along, and we closed right there on Friday. Reopened on Sunday, 6 p.m. So from here on, this has been current price action. We drifted higher. We made this high. It's high, you know, basically the same high we had right there. We banged our head on the top. So we broke out of the downtrend of lows. We came up, we hit our head on the top from back in January. Doing a little baby retrace. We may do a little deeper retrace. Could come back and retest this breakout of this downtrend. And then probably go on up. 62, 62.50. That's where I think we're heading right now. 6,200, 6,250. This big target area that for the last few weeks I've been saying was highly likely. I was more biased long than short for the last several weeks. That's the target. 75% likely we're going to hit the bottom of it. Probably 70% likely we may hit the top of it. And that still leaves us like 25 or 30% that we come up shy somewhere up in here and then roll over and go down. So remember, it's a game of probabilities. It's not a sure bet. All right. Always looking for something that can amp up my chances of winning. I mean, I would have loved this, baby. 99%. Yeah. If you just came in and you missed this conversation, you should bookmark this video and come back and watch the beginning sometime. Right there, probably going to retrace a little bit. We'll see what happens. Nasdaq. Ooh, this one's getting spicy. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. So zooming this up, look what we got. We've already hit the, now why are we stalling out right here? This last pullback right there, we just hit the 1448. Probably get a little retrace before we can push it on out. The target on this thing, the bigger target, target dog, go off of that high, that low. The bigger target is right up here where I've got my little hand drawn right there, 22.7. Hey, thanks, Rob. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Awesome. Do appreciate the super chat. Consider, thank you. If you got something you're asking, let me know. Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for the super chat. I do appreciate it so much. So much more than anybody can imagine. Anyway. Russell sitting on support. This might break down. We may get a deeper go at it right there. We might. And resistance on Russell right up here. Support right there. So these are the parameters on Russell. Here's the resistance. Here's the supports. Staying in the middle. like that. I kind of speculated that we may rally up in here while these two go hit their targets on the upside. If we do that perfect storm of setup, this is sitting right here. These are sitting at the all-time high target. That's the time to get ready for a bigger down. Now, I don't think it's the final top. That's not on my bingo card yet, that we're in the final top. I think this is going to be an intermediate top. I think we're going to get a bigger correction than we've had so far. Yay, right? Wonderful. That's wonderful news, JT. Not what everybody wants to hear, but I think we may do a bigger correction after hitting this target up here. Then we're going to hit this. Then we're probably going to get a bigger correction, possibly down to the low 5,000s. Then we'll come back up again, possibly up to 65, 6,600. And then sometime out later in the summer, probably, maybe in the fall. I was talking to Rongamer about this last night at the scout meeting. That'll probably be the top. I think we'll do a correction first. And this might take longer than I think. It could push us out into next year, possibly, for this high. We could spend a lot of time doing this, a lot longer than I think. All right? So just be careful on the whole thing. Just be careful on the whole thing. I'm just a guy, remember, like somebody was like, let's see what the master has to say. I'm not a master at this. Like, I'm just a guy that gets it right quite often. I get lucky more often than not. I spent a lot of years grinding at this, trying to figure it out. Oil rejected the resistance. Now we're back at the support. If we can break above the resistance, probably going higher. If we break down below this, the rest of this wedge, see, we kind of took this diversion out of the wedge and we came back to it. If we get back in here, break below it, we're going on down. Support below the wedge is down here, about 60. Below that, down here at 50. Downside targets, all right? Upside, if we break up, probably going up here to 80 to 90. 80 is the first resistance, right in here, prior high, 90, target above that. And eventually, when you zoom out and look at this thing, now we may make a lower low. So far, the lowest low in this correction right here on oil is right here in May 23. That projects us the 618 level right here at 105. As long as we hold this May 23 low, that is a major resistance right there at 105. We'll probably go test that eventually. Now, if we make a new low, this changes the dynamics of it a little bit. This will probably pull down just slightly, maybe down to about 100, depending on where we bottom. And that'll be the major resistance. So we'll work our way back up and test that eventually. All right. GC. Be careful here. What happens? So what happens if they go audit Fort Knox and the gold's missing? If you haven't been paying attention on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it, there's a big thing they got Elon hyped up on. What if Fort Knox has no gold? Elon's like, surely we do yearly audits. And surely we don't. And the reality is we don't. The last time anybody has any proof, public proof, was 1974, way before my time. What if they did like they did the Social Security fund and raided it? Put a bunch of IOUs in it. What happens? Do we get a shock down? Does this explode higher? We're at a major resistance target upside. Would not surprise me to get a big downside. Be careful. Now this could This could do a crazy pop, irrational crazy pop. Silver could suddenly decide it needs to catch up. Right now, we're rejecting pretty strongly. This has me cautious. I'm not feeling super strong about going either way. Gold is topped out. That's potential topping action right there. Could lead to expansion. We could hit 3,000. It's possible. It's not far away. Lots of people calling for 3,000. But it looks like it might be topping. Bitcoin here. This consolidation is driving me bananas. I'll just be straight up honest. This is the lowest range we've moved in Bitcoin for, what was that, 13 days now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 days now. Holy cow. I should just use the tool that counted them for me. Should just use this tool. Duh. 13 bars. 13 days, 13 bars. It's not much of, 2% range right there. Just chopping for 2 weeks. Now, last time we did this was about a year ago, almost to the day. Look at this. Like, we go back in time, roll back, go back to February last year. Right here. Now, we legged up into this price action right here. We spent a number of days right there, 11, in this tight little 2% range. Time before that, I don't even know. We don't usually spend a long time in a tight range. Maybe this was a little bit bigger than 2%, 5%. That one lasted a whole month in a 5% range, but we're in a tighter 2%. So closer to this, then we exploded higher. I don't know. We may, because we came into this kind of nastily. It's kind of some choppy price action that we came into this with. This reduced range. We may tap out on the roadmap line. We may be just waiting for the roadmap line to get up here high enough that we can just tab it and go. Right there. I don't know. Ethereum looking really soft. I'm not sure that that's done. Like, that may need one more go at the bottom. NKD, churning sideways still, not breaking out, not breaking down. Global liquidity, not really indicating we're doing anything, just hovering. And we've been hovering for months. Months and months. Dollar, cruising on down, gonna hit the roadmap line. Right there. That's the path. All right, I go pull the gainers, which is all the stuff moving $2 or more up, put it on the gainers list. All the stuff moving $2 or more down, put it on the decliners list. We look for some opportunities using my patterns. Right here. Beautiful. That was it. Like, that probably hit the target. That high, that low, boom. Boom goes the dynamite right to 103. NVMI. Yeah, that's up to the target too. There. That big pullback right up to the targets. May go higher, 302. WGS may go higher, 108, possibly even up to 121. Look at the bigger picture. Oh, that's pretty nasty. Has a reverse split in there. Apparently somebody using their Jake break. HESS or HEES, H&E Equipment Services. Wow. I would not have expected that to just giddy up and go after years of chopping. Something's up. I don't know. Maybe they figured out how to finance rental and leasing. So I don't know. Without digging into that one, I wouldn't touch it. It's not my kind of thing. That the risk for this to come back down is elevated. SMCX, 2x leverage on SMCI. Caution. This is coming up into the danger zone. We're getting hype again. I've seen rumor that this may get delisted on next week. I don't know. I don't have that on good authority. I just saw like some blurbs about something's coming. Something's happening February 25th, 24th, 25th. So this, be careful. That's coming up into that resistance. If we pulled back and held, that would be an upside potential. 62, next upside resistance. We're just getting up to that gap fill from that gap back there in November. Just be careful out there. For the negatives here, I go play somewhere else. Play in a different sandbox. I like to chase the best of the best stuff. That's not among it. Lily looks like, if we just ignore all the news, all the everything, I mean, look how beautiful that came up, scraped the bottom of my target. Probably going to come back, test the roadmap line, then potentially go higher. 1,000 is the target up there. If we can do that, if we break down below the roadmap line, probably going to come down lower. Simple as that. ASML. Also news over the weekend that Taiwan Semi has a plan to destroy all the ASML equipment in their factories. If they have 78 chip fabs, they're planning to destroy most of them, or at least most of the sensitive instruments in them, if China invades Taiwan. That right there, up to resistance. I still expect this to come down to the low 600s. ASML is in the Netherlands. They sell chip fabs, the equipment that you use to make chips, to grow the crystals and all that junk, lithography and all the nerdy stuff. I'm not going to pretend like I know exactly. I've watched enough videos on how it works that I was satisfied. I don't have to go make my own chips to really get that feel. That right there at targets on the upside. Watch for a reversal. It's probably going to pull back. FNGU probably going to get that 711 targets that we've talked about for a few weeks. STZ. Oh man, look at that. That's a giant measured bounce. Activation is complete. Now we need to see the reversal. This is very critical at this point. We're down to the reversal point. We could go just a little lower, 150. If we do that, then turn higher. We got to hold and turn. We got to hold that right there. We got to hold it and turn higher. Targets are up in here, 400 to 500, possibly 700 if we turn higher. That might be, if we get down to 150, and don't just slice on down through it, that might be a good point to add some. Like that could be a 4x right there. 150 to 600 on Constellation Brands. Not bad. Not bad risk to reward there. If we break on down below 130, game's probably over. Probably not going to happen. So at that point, you could risk 20 to potentially 4x your money. That's a good risk to reward. That's when I buy into these long term, that's the ones I'm hunting for right there. I like ones that are 10x. You know, this one's only 4x, but hey, pretty good. Risk 20, potentially make, gosh, what? 500 and something or 400, 450. Not bad. Not bad risk reward. I mean, you look at the risk reward, that's crazy. I like to 10x my money though, not just. I have one of my great grandfathers. Didn't really ever get to hang out with him, meet him, or anything. He used to say, I always like to make 1%. If he bought something for $1, he'd like to sell it for $2. He'd always like to make 1%. I always like to make 10%. So PTIR, still elevated. PLTR, be careful. This thing is getting ridiculous. I mean, ridiculous can keep being ridiculous, as I've said. Look at these. Look at these numbers. These are wax wing numbers. Icarus flies too close to the sun. When the wax melts, we're going down. NTRA. Be careful for pullback. WRD. Careful for a pullback. Snow. Be careful for a pullback. We are now into the gap fill zone. Can be a negative reaction in here that pulls us down to the roadmap line. If we hit that roadmap line, that'll be the build your position opportunity right there. Bulls. Probably going on up. 212 targets. LMT. Coming on down. If we break down below that uptrend of lows, that can go on down pretty seriously. Still got this little nagging cough with me. NVO, support here, potential to drop on down here if we break through the support. If we can rally on up, resistance at the roadmap line. I don't know. It's not one I want to get involved in yet. Doesn't have a solid resistance, solid support. Another 2x on SMCI. Could you make money on it? Sure. Could you get stuck in there if it got delisted? Sure. INOD, next target's up, right around 70. NVDU, be careful here. This one's coming back up to the roadmap line. We'll take a look at NVIDIA here in a second. SMCI, be careful. BABA, hitting the targets. Cha-ching. Time to be careful. 130, next upside. We may get a reaction here. We're coming up into these points where we topped in 2022, 2023. We may get another negative reaction before we can climb on higher here. Bigger picture, I expect up to 170, maybe 200. Longer term, it'd be pretty wild if we return back to 300. I think we got several more pullbacks before we get up there. ANET. Watch out for that one to get another leg down. Dave. Next target up around 180. SFM, Sprouts Farmers Market. God, that one just keeps ripping. Has not visited the roadmap line since June of 23. So we're getting close to 2 years. So this is going to retrace at some point. When? I don't know. Good on you if you were on that. SLDB, Solid Biosciences, Biotech. Be careful. Be careful, be careful, be careful on biotech. 3-wave retrace. This might do an expansion. This could be a measured bounce type thing. Could take us up in this 24 to 30 area. Maybe 40 area. Maybe even 70 area. Carvana. Boom, at the target. Nice. Watch for another retrace. We do retraces quite often in Carvana after making an expansion. Could go on up to 340. Just be cautious at this point. That's the target. I doesn't have to give any more. Ugly. Ultra gold. If this rolls, watch out. 120 on the upside. PGY. That's a dumpster fire. Reverse split. Red flag caution. Downtrend. Be careful. Most companies don't suddenly turn the stuff around with a reverse split. GLD. Coming up on that 270 target. HWM. Shoot, man. 137, 143. Probably retrace at some point. Hadn't been down to the roadmap line since October 23. Probably due for a bigger retrace. At least probably going to do at least a smaller retrace because it does it pretty often. Something back down to the 120 area. Just be careful. CLS right there. Probably going to turn back down. 168, 220 on the upside. INTW. Is Intel turning itself around? Well, check it out. Might have a reversal. Breaking through the roadmap line. Got the gap down. If we beat that, this thing might have made a bottom, despite all the horrible news. Caution is advised. INTW, maybe if you believe in it, this might be a good spot. Build a starter position. GDS, probably going to get a retrace. NVIDIA, here's the, like this setup, the bounce. 160 is the target. That's the target. Despite any of my bearish leanings, we do have the downtrend high here. Boom. That'll be the upside target. Possibly 166. This set it up. I got off the short because I saw this potential bounce. Now what happens here? I don't know. If we turn down, break down below the roadmap line, game on for going lower. If we can get through that 618 zone and that downtrend high zone, I mean, we're already through the 618. We had the little gap down thing right there. If we get through that gap down, that's why I say the 618 zone, because the gap down right there. If we can get on through it, that's the target up there. Clean it up. That's the target right up here. 159, 166, 167. We're going to have to beat that gap down. We're right there at it. Turned a little red today. Now we're back to green. Be careful if we get on through that gap down. Upside target. If we reject it, break down below the roadmap line, probably going on a bigger, deeper correction. Simple as that right now. Simple as that. Now, it can muddy it up and get really complicated, but right now it's very simple. We have the downtrend highs right there. We're right up to it. That is a significant resistance point. All built up right in there. We get above it, odds are we're going on up. Back to all-time highs. No matter how ridiculous NVIDIA stock price might be. GD. Yeah, watch for that to continue down. Holy moly. Cutting government spending. Not too good for all the things like General Dynamics, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, all those. Be careful. That stuff, that high. Coming up in the resistance. This, despite NVIDIA making higher highs here, this didn't make higher highs. Be careful. If NVIDIA rolls, this may roll harder. BX, still gunning for that downside target. We potentially hit the roadmap line. Bottom there. Grab the right fib. So we've got resistance on BX. Blackstone right there. Get above it. Potentially going up 207. If we come up and bounce off of it again, down here. And if we don't bounce at all and just go down here. So that's 2 paths down, 1 path up. Risk on the downside. MU, just kind of chopping sideways, drifting lower highs. Here's the resistance at these highs. Here's the support down here at these lows. I am long MUU, looking for this to break out and go on the bigger run up here, potentially to 300. That's a 3Xer, baby. SE, coming up on the 618 right there. That zone, 150. Dell, potential to have bottomed. Could be a measured bounce. If that is, be careful. The odds are we're going on down, but breaking above the roadmap line kind of tilts the odds back that we might actually do a measured bounce here. So we had the move up, the retrace. Had that move up. We had the retrace right there, held. Even though it was a little deeper than I wanted to see. This could project Dell up here. 166, 192, possibly that bigger target up there that I've had for a while. So if we break above this prior high, probably cruising right up here. Like that. You could buy now, stop out on a lower low. That almost a double from the current levels here, up to that 230 area. FTAI. Up to the resistance. If we can get through, we can go on up. If we bounce off, probably going down. So that's a key level right there. We haven't been able to break through for several days now. CRH. Oh, hitting targets. Be careful. 113 might be the next up. GRAL. And not enough candles to do much with. Little piece of roadmap line, a couple days long. Be careful on this one. We may get a retrace. I can't really tell much about it, but that's not enough history to tell much. So be careful. CSAI. Watch for that to... This has a potential continuation lower pattern here. That high, that low, lower high. Continuation down to $2. BRT. Sitting on the roadmap line. We're going to break that gap down to go higher. AN. Potential to come back to the roadmap line on AutoNation. SPXL. Target is 195. I would expect that, but we may get another retrace. To retest this smaller downtrend of highs, we may backtest this right here before we can go higher. Odds are we're going higher. PDD. Pushing on higher. If we get above that 618, game on. 180. PRFX. Resistance at the roadmap line. Reverse splits. Dumpster fire. Be careful. You can lose your money. NTES. Breaking above the downtrend highs. Potential to come up here around 150, 160. Gorilla Group. This one's being a pretty good beast here. We may see this return back up to this 110 area. Now, this had a reverse split. Be careful. It was never 110. That was the prior to the split thing. But we could see this rally back up in there. And then be careful. Like I said, reverse splits don't usually turn companies around. So be careful. This can just go back down to the bottom. TPR, Tapestry, Tapicer. 112, 136 on the upside. NBIS. Busting through the roadmap line. I like it. A little bit of resistance to that prior high there. We get through it. We might be able to rally back up to the all-time high around around 85. GH. Wow. A lot of this stuff working on reversals here. Come on, delete. So that's coming up into a resistance zone. If we can get up to 80, it may go on higher. We did have that gap from back here that we just filled. We do have those tops from right before the gap, right there, all lining up. So this may be a resistance zone. Be careful. We may not be able to break that without a retrace and a push through. OSCR. Potential resistance right there, lower highs. But possible that this is done. We break back above this 618 area and go on to 26 target up here. If we can get through, right up there. RTX. After hitting the target, we may come back to the roadmap line. Expansion, retrace, expansion, retrace, expansion, retrace. All right, decliners, things that were going down in the pre-market, looking for opportunities, things that might be done correcting. That probably has a little further downside, 152 area, right down in here. Almost there. URI. It looks like it wants to come on down. Be careful chasing this one. We could get an extension on down to 583. United Healthcare. Be careful. That looks like, again, we're going to get an extension on lower. First move down. Retrace. Potential to come on down to this 430 area down here. Potential. Doesn't have to, but that might be a better spot to look for long than right here. MDT. Chopping sideways. No change. SRPT. Oh, be careful. This one might have further to go. Could come all the way down to 82. Baidu. Ouch. Slammed it right back down to the roadmap line. Dang. So if we can do the roadmap bounce, 102, 103, possible. The bigger potential bounce can take us up to 190, which would be huge upside, but we've got a lot of prior highs to break through to get up there. INLF, not enough candles to do anything with. IHG, probably coming back to the roadmap line. Net, wow, that was a big up. 220, next upside resistance. If we break through it, 275, 342. This may retrace before it gets up there, but it's on a path to go higher right there. GGAL, coming down for the roadmap line. AXSM, be careful here. That may be reaching played out levels on the current move. We may need a retrace before we push on higher. Look at the bigger pattern here. Much bigger pattern. Come on now. Yeah, we're coming up to the 1448, possibly 170 above that. IONQ. Watch for this to come on down. Right there. ABBV. If we can break the gap fill. Get that gap fill resistance right there. If we can break through the gap fill, 214 on the upside. Bonus trade, I really like this potential right here. If we can get above, we can stick this right here. Potential for this to come on up. Right there. So look at the upside potential. Ways to play. Wrong button. This one's the one I want. If we can get up there, we have a 11.7% upside. So NVDO, you pick your weapon. 22% upside on a 2x leverage. Only puts that right in there, about 82. 66 to 82. Not bad, though. There you go. Potential way to play. Maybe just back up into the prior highs there. That's a way to play without buying options and run out of time. I would be careful. This looks like we're coming up into a back test situation. Be careful. There's several of these. I think NVDX maybe. Yeah, another one for that was T-Rex. It's coming up into the roadmap line. We can get above it. Potential to go higher. So there's several 2x leverage on NVIDIA. Lots of ways to play without buying options and running out of time. So bias for the day, cautiously, optimistically long, but we may go retest that breakout, like I mentioned. We have that smaller little baby downtrend of highs that we built over the last couple of weeks from late January to current breakout right here. We may backtest that. So we may see a little softness before we can push on higher. But looking for that 200 to 250 zone right up there. Pretty confident we're going to do that. Comes from this high right here to this low right there. Pretty confident we're going to hit this zone right up here. All right. Thanks for coming, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with me. I have 30 minutes of awesome coming up at 5 p.m. We'll see you then. Bye for now.